Fancy a look at the new ROG Strix Fusion 500 headset? So here it is, there's the box. It's all very Strix with all the lovely RGB type of colours and all that sort of stuff. So it's a very familiar type of branding, apart from the fact that the box opens in a weird way. But we'll get to that in a minute. So it's USB only, and you can use it on your PC, your Mac or your PlayStation 4. The drivers are 50mm, and it's the neodymium magnet. Oh, you know the one that I mean, do you know what I mean? I'm just pronouncing it badly. Impedance is 32 ohms. Frequency response for the headphones is 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. On the microphone, it's 50 Hz to 10,000 Hz with a minus 39 decibel to a plus 3 decibel sensitivity. And there's a 2-meter cable. They weigh 360 grams. Yes, I did read that off of a piece of paper. Anyway, as I said, the box opens in a kind of weird way, but we've got some stuff around the back because it's got Aura Sync on it, 7.1 touch controls, but we'll get to that when we're inside. So you open it this kind of way, which I kind of like. Now I'm going to explain to you what I saw when I first saw this. I saw this, no stand or anything, you just get the headphones like this, and I was like, right, where's the wireless dongle? So you have a look underneath, and it's just a USB cable that doesn't come with a wireless dongle at all. So then I thought to myself, well, maybe it's Wi-Fi and you have to have like Wi-Fi on your rig or something, because on the box you can see you control the Aura with a mobile app. So okay, so what's going on? Well, weirdly, you have to have them plugged in, and you've got a 2-meter braided cable here, which is it's a nice soft proper braid, but it's a normal mini USB or micro USB for like the older phones. It's not the C-type, and you have to have that plugged in. Now if you want to control the lights, which are here independently, you have to use the mobile phone app, which is the sync up with that is Bluetooth, but you can't use them as Bluetooth headphones because there's no battery or anything inside. So the USB always has to be there for the power. Now it does have touch controls on the side, and the touch control plate, as you can see, you've got play and pause, and you can skip, and you can turn the volume on and off as well. You can also turn the Aura Sync on and off if you want. It's quite a bit of adjustment, and if you have a look at the band down the side, it does have the kind of Asus Aztec stuff in there, and you can see there's quite a bit of flexibility as well. The band isn't too bad, and what you do get is these the pads here, which they call them protein pads, but they're basically like memory foam and like a sort of like a synthetic leather sort of thing. See the ROG branding in there, but you also get the other ones that you can swap out if you want, and they do just pull off the sides like this, and you can pull them off. The only reason I'm not doing it is because I don't want to try and do it on camera. So you can swap those, but they are actually really comfortable. The other thing here is you've got a button, and this is to enable your 7.1. It is a software-based 7.1. There are only 2 drivers in it, but I will talk to you about my thoughts about the 7.1 in a second. And you do have a microphone here, which pulls out. Now you can adjust it, and we skip into, but you can adjust it. But as you'll see, the microphone, on me especially, it's quite out the way, so even when you do adjust it to go right into your face, it's quite a way away from your mouth. And I'm only taking these off because it sounds weird in my ears, but when you do it being away from your mouth means you don't get all of the when you're breathing. But I did find personally, now I've tried recording the microphone to put over the video, and because of the way I record my audio and stuff, I've never really particularly liked it. But I will say that I would say personally that I don't think the microphone in this is any better to any of the other Asus ones. There are definitely better microphones on headsets out there. It's all right, it's adequate, I would say, but it's not particularly anything to shout home about. One of the other things is they are very comfortable. I'm not a massive headset wearer, so when I put them on my head, I normally hate them instantly. These with either pads are actually really nice. I personally prefer the cloth ones out of the two, but even these ones, they're not too bad. You don't get sort of like insta sweaty when you've got them on. So if you've seen the ROG Strix 300s, now the ROG Strix 300s are very similar to this. They've not got RGB, but you weirdly do get an extra cable with it, so you don't have to just run USB, you can run 3.5 as well. Now I'm going to try and explain to you what they've done with these. These have got a DAC built in. So the reason why you need the USB is the DAC needs to be powered. Also with the Bluetooth, to kind of sync it up, the Bluetooth needs to be powered as well. So there's no way that you could plug this into just a 3.5mm jack and you would never, you know, there's no power going to be getting to it, so it's not going to work. So that's the reason why this is USB only. I do find it kind of confusing that these have got Bluetooth in at all though, because in all honesty that Bluetooth is only there so that you can change the lights. But if you plug this into your PC, you can change the lights on that anyway. So I don't understand why they've added the Bluetooth when you can't use the Bluetooth for actual audio. So it's a bit of a complicated, it's a confusing one. That's the word. It's a confusing one. I don't understand why it's there, and it was probably something that I think they could have probably sacked off and just left off of the list and saved a few bucks. I would go as far as to say I don't really understand why they've bothered with the touch screen stuff either, because I don't particularly think that really, again, adds very much when most of us, if you're going to have paid, let's face it, these are going to be coming in, they've not got a confirmed price yet, but 150 to 170 GBP. If you're going to have paid that much for a set of headphones, I would hazard a guess that you might have some at least media shortcuts on your keyboard. And with the Asus software, they've got the Keybot software. You can set up shortcuts anyway. So even if you've got a 10 keyless keyboard with no media keys, you can actually set up shortcuts with your FN keys and stuff anyway. So yeah, I think that's a bit confusing. One of the biggest things that I find confusing though is the fact there's absolutely no software for these whatsoever. So when we're talking about that DAC, you're plugging it into your PC and then whatever you send signal wise from your PC to the headphones, it will play. So if you're running like Winamp or you've got iTunes or Spotify or something like that, you're going to be fine because there are going to be things that you can play around in with that. Spotify, for example, you can pay for the upgraded bit rate and all that sort of stuff. But even I've got software on my rig for my DAC so that you can set the equalizer up to your own personal preference. Now with this you don't, and the native Windows stuff is horrifically limited to the point where you don't really get any choices at all. So you kind of do need the extra bit of software there so that you can make the audio suit you better, and it comes with none of it, and I think it should do. Now Asus do like their onboard audio for their motherboards, but that's all for the 3.5mm jack. So when you plug the USB with this in, it completely bypasses all of that, and you're kind of losing the point. So you're solely reliant on the DAC that's in there. Now that DAC that's in there is also the reason why it's just USB, because it has to be powered. Now one thing I will say about that DAC is the audio quality on these headphones is actually quite good. It's one of the ones for a plug and play I was actually pleasantly surprised with. I'd say it's above average. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's at the kind of £150 to £170 level of audio quality though. When you place them that high up in the market, it puts them in a very, very grey area. So with that very, very grey area, pretty much all of the headphones out there are either going to be, they're going to be one of two things. They're going to be really high grade, want an external headphone amp. All of the stuff in the headphones are going to be amazing and super high quality. Sennheiser Game Zero. Or you're going to end up with something that's wireless, maybe have some decent software with it, maybe even have like an external DAC before the wireless dongle goes in the DAC and all that sort of stuff. This is kind of like a very kind of in-betweeny kind of position. So they do sound very good, and even for someone that doesn't particularly like wearing cans, and I am horrifically picky about my cans. These were very comfortable and I could use them. There's a nice amount of warmth and deep bass around the bottom. I did find that personally, one of the reasons why I was looking around the audio is that some of the tunes that you can listen to, the top feels like it could be dialed down a little bit, and maybe the mid bass could have been brought up a little bit. But again, that's a personal preference. That's not necessarily something that, because I like a range of music. So on this, I've listened to trance music on it. I listened to rock on it. There's lots of, little bits and bobs in between that I play with. But the Virtual 7.1, we had quite an in-depth discussion about it. We actually thought, especially for PUBG, it was very good. It did make it easier to be able to place which way people might have been walking around buildings and stuff like that. But we did kind of decide that if you were playing a car game, for example, especially when a car's steaming up behind you, it wasn't until it was pretty much alongside you that you could really tell which ear that it was coming from, because it kind of overwhelmed it a little bit. But specific placement and footsteps and guns clicking and that sort of stuff, without the audio being absolutely barraged at you, yeah, you know what I mean. So in the kind of FPS type of games, it did make a noticeable difference. And first game out with the headsets on was a chicken dinner. So just to kind of give you that type of idea as well. So it did make a really nice addition. One thing I would say is when it does come to PUBG, super wide angle screen, so like a super wide monitor, so you get that extra field of vision that some people might not get, and a decent set of audio placed in headphones makes all the difference. Anyway, so for me, I think these are a little bit confused. I genuinely don't understand why the Bluetooth is in there. Like point blank, it makes no sense to me. It's there but doesn't need to be at all, especially where you can't stream audio with it. The DAC is really nice. Does change the audio quality, and like I said, it's probably one of the best audio sounding Asus headsets I've ever had my hands on. But the problem with that DAC is because where it needs to be powered, that means you've always got the USB. Now, I'm just going to grab something just quickly, and it kind of stays on brand, but you've got the ROG Centurion headset. Now, I've gone and grabbed this out the loft, although we've been using it recently. It's got this external, and it's a headphone amplifier, basically. I personally don't understand why they didn't do this, but have one of these. So this is where the sound signal comes from. Because if they'd have done this, you can change the audio and stuff, and it plugs into the system via USB, and there's software for it, and then they could have run the 2.5 if they wanted to, but they could have also had a USB dongle that they could have put in the top to have made it wireless. Now, I've got a funny feeling that there might be an upgraded version of the 500 that will come, that will be wireless. But if this comes in at £170, I don't understand. Do you get what I mean? I genuinely think for what comes in the box with this should have been wireless. Because with the ROG Centurion, you get that external, the external module, you get a big stand. It seems to come with a lot more. And admittedly, this is £200, which is a lot of money. But with this, you pretty much get the headphone, a cable, and a spare set of ear pads. And it's not it doesn't particularly make a lot of sense. So we've had a bit of two off in the office about this. So my colleague Brian he does the writing for all of the headsets and all of the peripherals. Now he rates this headset, and I need to stress that he does rate this headset, and he gave it the Performance Award. But personally, quite strangely, and it might shock a lot of people as well, I only gave them the approved, and the approved is like our entry level, it's worth a look kind of award. In that, I personally think that if you're looking at these, you kind of need to have a very, very specific kind of, you want an Asus headset, and you want the DAC audio and all of that sort of stuff, because there are a lot of headsets in this segment that are probably better for maybe even less money. And the bit that really confuses matters is if you're in the market for something with a DAC and you want that you're stressing you want that mega audio quality, then there's part of me that would be like, why don't you go and buy yourself a set of audio grade, like audiophile headphones, an external DAC and an external microphone, and you will never ever even, you know, it will surpass this by orders of magnitude. You might spend £200, you might spend £225, which I know then adds like another 50 quid on top. But the quality that you're then going to get is unbelievable. So even when, if you were to put the Asus lineup in the kind of segment, so you've got the ROG Strix 300, which hasn't got the DAC, but you get the 3.5mm jacks, you get the USB as well. And then above it, you go with the ROG Centurion. When you put the 500 in between, it's kind of lost. And it's one of those products that I think is kind of, they've put it there because they needed something in between the price range rather than there's actually a kind of a need for it. So if you were to buy if you were to be wanting these, you've got to want that DAC, not care about the fact that you have to have it wired in the whole time. And you're buying it knowing that the Bluetooth is pretty annoying, and you're also going to need some kind of audio software on your PC to control everything, so in your games as well, so that you can tune the headset to your own liking. And if you're one of those people, then it's going to be a good buy. But if any of those things are going to annoy you, let's face it, you wanted a wireless headset, and when I looked at it and saw the mobile app and stuff like that, I instantly thought it was. I'd kind of maybe say, maybe go and look at other ones. There are other Asus branded headsets that you can go and have a look at. There are options for you, but I would say that it's one of those ones where I would personally say, if you're here watching the 500 review because you're in two minds, I'd write it down and then I'd go and do a bit of research on 2 or 3 other different headsets as well and see which one that you end up deciding for. I don't think it will be long before we're going to get an upgraded version of this though. But when I say an upgraded version of this, I don't say that they're going to upgrade this one and it will come in at the same price. I mean an upgraded one as it will come in above it in the range. So we've had the 300, the 500, the ROG Strix Fusion 700 wouldn't be a bad guess at the name, but I reckon that that's then going to come in at 199 or 225. And that is just, you know, a kind of a rough guess in my head. So I don't want this to sound like I'm bashing them, because like I said, it is probably the best sounding Asus headset I've ever had. And as far as comfort, compared to the Centurion, it's in another league. These are so light, so comfortable. You just put them on and they feel nice straight away. But for me, really, the two things for me that really wind me up is there's no software whatsoever, and I think that's a bit of a cop-out. And the Bluetooth is utterly pointless, and I think they could have just got rid of that and no one would have noticed. It's kind of like, in my opinion, they've taken the 300, they've put a DAC on it and gone, that's enough, we don't need to do any more, sell them that. And they really shouldn't have done. They should have done a little bit more. Software would have made all the difference for one, but I'm not going to go back round in circles anymore. Very, very honest review. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments underneath. If you get your hands on these and you, or you've bought them or you're going to buy them, please come to the OC3D forum review thread, which I'll post a link underneath so that we can discuss about this, because headphones and audio can be very personal preference. So, and I've seen the difference just with me and Brian. So if you want to come and join in the discussion as well, I would love to hear your thoughts. And I would go as far as to say Asus might be keeping an eye on the thread as well, because I've obviously said that it's not all glorious. But anyway, so quick edit, yes, whoosh, never even noticed. Let me know your thoughts underneath or in the forums. Forums are better, you'll be able to have a proper conversation with me. And this has been the tiniest one, with I think his first review back after CES.